Hello and welcome back to the Spotlight Games podcast for episode 152. Today there are rumors afoot of an upcoming PlayStation State of Play, and there seems to be trouble in paradise for BioWare after a rocky Dragon Age the Veilguard launch. So we're going to ask the question, what's this mean for their future? Joining me this week, my sweet dumpster boy, Cayman Darty. Cayman, how you doing?
Patrick, I'm doing wonderful. I always prep beforehand to come in with some snarky retort, some witty jest to start an episode off. Gonna be completely honest with you. I got nothing tonight, man.
No?
I got no jokes. I've got no zest. I've got no jest.
Whoa.
I am struggling. I need help.
Yeah,
that's all. Yeah, I don't know, man. I wish that I had something funny. I'll just let it sit and simmer for a bit, and
okay.
I'll just come in with a zinger out of nowhere. You know,
yeah.
Sometimes you need a little. I need you guys to like build me up.
I was gonna say just bully me for my Resident Evil pick when it wasn't announced today at Capcom. Why didn't you just say "fuck Mori" at the top of the show? It would have worked great. It would have been awesome.
I was saving that for later.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I understand.
Look, this is a safe space. If it came in by the end of the show, my guarantee is that you're going to walk away from tonight's recording feeling a little bit better. And if we get there by just dogging on Mori, that's what we got to do.
I'll do it. I'll take the hits.
You know what I'm saying?
Fuck it.
I love it.
Let's go. We got a lot of video game stuff to talk about because this is the Spotlight Games podcast where each week we spotlight the latest and the greatest in the world of video games. You can get it by subscribing to our YouTube channel at Spotlight Games Pod or by searching for Spotlight Games in your favorite podcast app. And hey, you can be on the show by tuning in as we record live Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time right here on twitch.tv/Spotlight Games Pod, just like Gianni DeCrossa, just like the homie Jake Twitch, and just like Noah C92R. So be like them. Follow us on twitch.tv/Spotlight Games Pod to be notified when we go live so you can be part of the conversation. And also today we're co-streaming on twitch.tv/drop-in-drop-out-pod. If you've missed the news, we launched Drop In Drop Out, a new podcast where the three of us in this room and Jake Twitch and the homie, Cognitive Clips, JK Games, we come together each week. Some of us are going to drop in for the conversation. Some of us won't be there, but we're going to have an open and engaging conversation all about video games. We've had a banger of a launch week. We're live again on Thursday with an episode 2 official of Drop In, Drop Out Pod. I'm telling you, we're cooking. We're having a great time. Follow us on socials, dropindropoutpod.com. We're releasing all sorts of fun clips. It's been great. And then also, if you've been tuning in for the Doki Doki Literature Club streams, those return on Friday. Episode 3 of Rose and myself voice acting the entirety of Doki Doki Literature Club in our best anime voices. And I'll tell you what, I'm having a great time.
It's a masterpiece. God, it's a masterpiece. It's so good.
It's gonna happen more often. We need to figure out what our next one is, but it will return. Rose and Patrick will return after Doki Doki Literature Club with more dating sims. Right. I was like, wait, what are they called again? Dating sims. And finally, join the Discord. We got a fun little Discord where we goof off about video games, talk about video games, all things video games, and they're both for Drop In, Drop Out and for Spotlight Games. So pick your poison, jump in the Discord. We're having fun. That's going to be in the bio of our socials and on our website. So boys, it's Spotlight Games. We talk about what we've been playing to open up an episode of Spotlight Games. And you know what I didn't do at the top of the show was formally introduce my gamble we're taking, GWTMori.
Wow.
So let's start with you and what we've been playing since I just skated right by you. I talked shit and I didn't even introduce you.
Yeah, no, I felt that the beginning of getting ganged up on this podcast had already begun when Patrick acted like I wasn't a fucking person. Like, fuck you. No. As always, I'm so happy to be here. An honor to be able to be with my Spotlight family. What have I...
Well, actually, if I may, Maury, even though I just said talk about what you've been playing, you know what we haven't really said publicly?
What have we not said publicly?
Is that
Patrick, there's a lot that you and I have not said about our relationship publicly. I would be careful. I would tread lightly.
That is so true. Unofficially, but now officially, Maury kind of filling in as a third chair on Spotlight for the foreseeable future. A bit of a residency, if you will. as the third chair of Spotlight Games. So you're going to be seeing more of the gamble we're taking right here on twitch.tv Spotlight Games.
I love it. Patrick, it's like
becoming. Yeah, go ahead, Cayman.
I feel like it's a podcast boot camp because one, Maury's being taught how to participate in a very well structured show run by an incredible host. But then he also has to learn how to deal with curveballs from a jackass in sunglasses.
Absolutely.
And those are things you never, you got to stay on your toes the whole time. I might jump out of the screen and kick you square in the balls.
Man.
You don't know what could happen when the dumpster boy is live.
Of course it's true.
That's why Patrick has threatened to fire me so many times now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We've done 152 of these episodes. Really, we've done like 160. There are some unnumbered episodes in the tank here. And if I could get this far without having fired Cayman, I'm doing something right. Or I'm doing something wrong. One of the two. Unclear. Before we jump into what we've been playing, I do want to shout out Colehouse Jr. Terry, it's been too long, my friend. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the sub. Resubscribing for 12 months. You're a legend. He says, I am so glad I am back for a live one. It's been so long. It truly has. Thank you for being here, Terry. Miss you, buddy. All right, Maury. I've been just stealing the spotlight here at Spotlight Games. It's in the title. What can I say? But Maury, what have you been playing? Tell us all about it.
Of course, Patrick. I'm playing a game that you told me to play, not but a month ago, but I didn't start playing it until this week, and that's Citizen Sleeper.
Yeah,
I'm balls deep in Sleeper. It's good as shit. It's awesome. I'm getting really close to the end. I'd imagine I have less than 2 hours left. Some of the stories aren't starting to hit for me as hard. So I'm starting to just skip the dialogue, which is never like a good sign. I feel like I'm losing like steam, which feels terrible. Though one thing I wish this game did have, like so desperately, is a little bit of voiceover work. Not all of it. You see what I'm saying? Like, not
it's
all
my
of
biggest. It's the biggest miss of the game.
Yeah. Because I think about Disco Elysium. Not everything is voiced, but the things that need to be voiced are. And it kind of provides a bridge in between those moments of reading that helps someone like me who has ADHD and like I can't focus for shit. But all that said, I love the game and I'm preparing for my Citizen Sleeper 2 playthrough, which supposedly, according to both you and Cognitive Clips, might be a Game of the Year contender for you this year. So I'm very excited to finish up Citizen Sleeper so that I can jump into Citizen Sleeper 2. And other than that, like Rivals is always an answer, but yeah, Citizen Sleeper.
Without spoilers, can you? What storyline are you getting a little tired of? I'm just curious.
Oh, dude, so my thing is, I will read a paragraph of something, and if that paragraph doesn't get me, it's over.
Sure,
it's over. It's absolutely cooked. Like, and so I don't even know what the stories are. Like, I couldn't even tell you what. Like, I know what the characters are.
Yeah,
but I couldn't tell you what the stories are.
Which characters are you not fucking with right now?
There's one guy. Oh man, it's way toward the end when you're off on the other end of the spaceship.
Yeah,
Aki is one of the people. I don't understand what the hell's going on there. The two people that were on the spaceship, like Peak or something like that.
The two women.
Yeah. Whatever those first like two paragraphs were didn't get me, so just started skipping. Dude, like, and it sucks.
You're missing some good shit.
I know, and that's why I'm mad. But like for me, like, dude, my attention span is so short. But then like the stories that I get invested in, like it's the fucking chef guy in the first area of the game. Like I want to bring him all the mushrooms so I can talk to him about stories and shit. And for some reason, that's what my brain locks in on. So I don't know, but I love it.
I am willing to bet the second one you won't have that issue as much with the second one. I think the second one does a lot of it. Really jumps into the conflict really fast, and I feel like there's just not as much extra stuff in the second one. It seems to be a lot like everything kind of serves the greater story, which I won't necessarily spoil by any means, but it all makes sense within the world that like all of the side quests kind of are the main quests too, in a way.
Awesome.
Which I love when a game can do that and it makes sense where this other thing doesn't feel extra to me. It just is.
Sure.
So for sure.
Is there voiceover work in Citizen Sleeper 2?
No.
All good.
It's tough. But I doubt you will skip nearly as much as you have in 1 and 2.
I can't wait.
Yeah, that's a Patrick guarantee.
That's worth something around here, goddamn.
I don't know how much, but it's worth something. That's for sure. A couple people in the chat giving Citizen Sleeper 1 and 2 some love. Also, our sweet dumpster boy pointing out, not only is it on Game Pass, it's also on PS Plus. So give it a shot over there too. If you're a PlayStation gamer like we all are. Cayman, would you like to go next, or would you like to finish what we've been playing with what you've been playing?
Well, I'm just going to go ahead and set the stage right now. What I'm brought to the table tonight is one of the worst games ever made. Potentially the worst game ever made. I think historically known as the worst game ever made.
Suicide Squad?
Somehow way worse. Let's save it, and I just think we should just prime the audience.
Build up.
Shit's about to get unhinged.
Yeah.
So we're gonna want to stick around for this one.
Build it up. I love it. Build it up.
Wow.
So I will jump in a little bit. So I've been playing Citizen Sleeper 2, but I already talked about that on the show a couple times. But I do want to address a question in the chat from Gianni. He asks, "Is playing 1 necessary, or should I just skip straight to that new?" I think it is worth playing the first one first. But if you were going to skip shit like Mori is, not a dig, Mori, you can just skip 1. Because I think the value that you get from playing 1 is things like the relationship you can build with Aki. Things like there are certain characters that kind of show up potentially in future games. Or in the second game. Very light spoiler. You will... Some characters might show up. So that would be the only reason I would suggest playing 1 before 2. If you don't care about that, just jump into 2. Because you're playing as a new sleeper in the second one. It's a new area, but there's some characters that I'll just go ahead and say that there is connection to 1.
See, this is the problem this whole time, because it's a new sleeper. I thought the stories were just completely disconnected. Sure. And now I'm like angry, and I'm about to go and restart Citizen Sleeper 1 so I can listen to what the hell Aki was telling me that was so goddamn boring.
You know what you should do? That hurts. I love Aki. You know what you should do when you finish it? Just read like an in-depth synopsis, I think.
Okay.
To give you all the different bits about the characters that you skipped over.
Sure.
Mori.
Yeah. Yes.
Could this be somehow involved with your Gen Z brain not being capable of handling much more stimuli than just like a couple yeets and a couple yit and some of these and some of that. Right. And I don't know what kids do anymore. I'm old. I'm on a cane. I can't see out of one eye. You know, I am the guy that waves the cane up in the air. That's me. I am that guy. I don't know what you fucking brats are up to.
No, I get it.
What? You've ruined the country.
Wow.
You ruined the country.
Us.
Man, I didn't know that Donald Trump was Gen Z. That's crazy.
God damn it. No, but we have a shocking number of people in my generation voting for that guy, which is horrifying.
Fuck him. And fuck you if you voted for him. Sorry. No ifs, ands, or buts. Okay, so I have been playing outside of Citizen Sleeper. I have also been playing a game that just came out today that the homie Noah in the chat and the homie Dumpster Boy convinced me to get on the Fantasy Critic team, which is live on Dido. I picked up Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Oh my god.
I didn't get much in the way of progress. I've probably played less than an hour of this game.
Wow.
But I at least wanted to give some initial thoughts and some initial impressions because I didn't play the first one. Also, I think is important to this discussion that if you are a Kingdom Come fan in the chat, I not yet am one of you. And what I have so far realized is that this game is so serious. And I don't mean tonally. I mean like in its design. Like so much so that you can't wear certain types of armor unless you're wearing like the right underpiece. Like it seems very like simulation.
It is a sim game, yes.
It is like a medieval sim, which I think I can fuck with, but so far it is a little more in that realm than I was maybe anticipating, even though I was still anticipating that. However, I mean, the game is getting really good reviews. Its average is an 89 on OpenCritic. It got me a cool 19 points on day one of the season. And so I'm really interested to put more time into it. A couple things that I do want to go ahead and point out from the jump. It's a beautiful game. Like the environments are so nice. I've only been in like 3 of them so far, but it's really pretty to look at. Sometimes the character models leave a little to be desired, but this is a huge fucking game. It's one of those things where it's essentially like playing a Bethesda game that so far doesn't have any jank. I'm sure it's going to have fucking jank, but so it has rough edges at times, but I'm really impressed so far with the voice acting. One thing, Noah pointed this out in our Discord for Drop and Drop Out. I'm like, wow, this already for a game that I didn't play the first one. I walked into the second game having no idea what any of this was. I didn't know if the first game mattered. I didn't know what kind of world I was in. I was like, oh, there's this dog I'm already in love with. These characters that I'm around seem to be really interesting and complex. I wish I could have created a character. I think the main protagonist is like the most, you saw him, he's like kind of the white guy with like the kind of coiffed hair, just like the most vanilla guy. Like it would have been nice to be able to create someone a little more interesting, but I'm coming in with an open heart. I'm going to see if Henry can win me over. But so far I'm impressed with this game, and I'm excited to go back and play more. I fear this won't be a game that I can play while watching things, which I love to do on my Portal. This seems to be a focus on the game.
This is a TV game. Yeah,
it seems to be a TV game. Although, to be fair, so far singing on the Portal,
fuck yeah,
feels
dude.
Great.
The Portal's an incredible fucking little thing. I don't even know what you'd call it. A peripheral. But that would be what we would call it. Yeah, I think
so.
Question: have you got far enough in that you've done any of the combat or combat tutorials?
I have done some combat, and the combat in this game is wild.
It is on a different level. Yeah,
talk to me.
It is a simulation. Like, so the whole game is first person, which I've been on record many times on this show, and will be on record so many times in the future of Drop and Drop Out that I always prefer third person to first person. Yeah. Sometimes it works for me, but usually I walk away from a game. The most recent example is Indiana Jones. It's like, I would have loved that game 3 more points if it was third person versus first person. But this game is so interesting in first person because when you're dueling with your sword, there's this like 5-point reticle on your screen. And with the joystick, you can choose, it's essentially like a Wiimote, in a way where like, am I going to go down? Am I going to go right, left, under, like at an angle? Wow. And so the dueling in this game is straight up fucking dueling. It's like, I got to pay attention to where his sword is coming from so that I can block it and get him back. Like it is serious shit.
That sounds overwhelming.
So far, it is a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
In the tutorial, the main guy, like your main companion, you can like make a bet with him. It's like, he's like, oh, let's have an easy duel for £1,000. And I have the option of doubling it. It's like, oh, let's fucking make it double. And so I do that. And I just get my teeth kicked in, immediately lose any money that I could have had by getting my teeth kicked in the tutorial. But I'm hopeful that I can learn the ways of this game because I can already see, even if this game isn't for me, this is a good fucking game. Like 45 minutes in, I'm like, wow, I can tell why this game is getting reviewed as well.
So when we were doing the Fantasy Critic last night, the big thing about this was that, like I kept telling you guys, like there was a lot high expectations for the first game, and the game just didn't deliver. It had a lot of bugs and jank to it. And it was just because the team itself is small. Like it's not a huge studio who made this game. And so the whole thing was, it was like, look, if they can fix what they messed up on in the first game, Kingdom Come 2 is going to be like an absolute blowout of a game. And I think they have done enough right. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of critics and reviewers being like, this is a potential front runner for Game of the Year. And if it like, we genuinely believe this will show up at the end of the year as one of the games nominated, which good.
I was just gonna say, this is why Cayman is so fucking interesting to me, and this is why I'm like horrified that he counterpicked me of everybody, because the fact that last night we were talking about it, not last night, whenever we did Fantasy
couple nights ago.
Yeah, when we were talking about it live, which by the way, that's available now.
Dropanddropout.com.
You should go check it out.
No, I'm sorry. No. It's available tomorrow.
Oh,
it's not.
Damn it.
Fuck. I fucked it up.
It's live for the audio listeners. Let them have their piece as well. We still love those people too, Patrick.
Yeah,
exactly. I know. I love them all.
Yeah, no. I mean, and this is the thing, right? I said now, so clearly I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about either. But Cayman, when we were talking about it, I was like, dude, the first game scored a 71. Like, why would anyone put their money on this? I looked at it and I almost picked it up, and I didn't. And Patrick went to grab it, and Cayman's like, oh yeah, this game's gonna be great because they had all this time to improve and whatever. Cayman is not the person, ladies and gentlemen, and NBs that you want to be up against in a fucking fantasy critic. Let me tell you right now. God, I'm scared.
Look, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I've made mistakes before. Stalker 2 had like kind of a cyberpunk launch. From what I've heard, like what they've fixed so far, the game is way better. But if you fuck up right out of the gate, a lot of times that's the last shot you got.
True. Yep. Yeah, it pains me to say it, but Cayman very rarely misses. I want him to miss more.
Yeah,
so that
same.
I can benefit. But also losing my mind, as are a couple people in the chat, with Kayla Gray 6 asking, is this a horse game? So far, it seems to be a horse game.
It is a horse game. 100%. This is a horse game.
It certainly seems to be a horse game.
Yeah. Horse game.
Yeah, horse game confirms. Okay, I think it seems like we are maybe at the time to talk about this crime of a video game, it seems, from the Dumpster Boy. So, Cayman, I will kick it to you. What have you been playing? Tell us all about it.
Folks, I went back in time. I hopped into my time machine, and I got the good fine folks over at Limited Run Games to do the dumbest thing possible, which is to release a remaster of the worst game ever made, Plumbers Don't Wear Ties. And I swear to fucking God, we start off with like someone just give us that fucking Save Trash Cinema intro music. Patrick, you remember it? You just give me a little scat over there. This game is Trash Cinema, the video game. So this game is an FMV game that was released on the 3DO. The 3DO, for people who have no idea what that is not a real thing. 3DO is a company that was founded by the guy who founded Electronic Arts, or as we all know them as EA. He creates this thing called the 3DO that plays discs that is like pre-DVD, but plays short clips of video that you could interact with. And so at the time, this was like a really big deal. You had things like Dragon Lair was like a big game at the time. Night Trap was another big game. But the thing with the 3DO is that makes it such a weird fucking game or like system that doesn't exist is because they sold the rights to manufacture the 3DO to Sony and Sega and Panasonic. So they made these ludicrously expensive consoles. They were all like this. It was like the Sega CD drive. Some people probably remember that one. So you put the disc in, and essentially it would play like a movie, and you could interact with the movie. Well, Plumbers Don't Wear Ties is essentially if Tommy Wiseau, the director of The Room, decided he wanted to write a romantic comedy. There was also a video game.
Oh, that is the perfect explanation because Cayman, I played about 40 minutes of this game.
Did you? Fuck yes, you did.
I sure
did. You did.
And this about 20 minutes in, I was like, this is The Room, the game. It is the wildest fucking thing I've ever played in my life.
Wow. I'm so fucking excited to have someone to talk to about this.
It is so crazy. It feels like a fever dream. Like,
it is offensive as fuck as well. God.
So I assumed, because so when you start the game, it's like, do you want to hear from the team behind Limited Run? And there's like a 6-minute video.
You absolutely need to. Yes.
Yeah. There's like a 6-minute video explaining like what it is and why they did it. And they realize that it's a fucking offensive game and all of those things. And so I watched that, and then it's like, do you want the full game or do you want to go right to the first decision? And I was like, you know what? I bet Cayman is doing the full experience. Let me just go right to decision one. Mm-hmm. So maybe there's a bit of a different thing. And it throws you right in, and it's like, do you want to have John the plumber hit on Jane? Do you have Jane hit on John?
You missed the setup?
I did. Or do you want neither of them to hit on each other? So I start there. And then for the next 7 minutes, it proceeds to tell me the most contradictory dialogue. It was, I can't even really explain it, but it kept bringing in all these other characters that I have no clue who they are. And they would say one thing and then immediately say the exact opposite thing.
Yes.
it honestly feels like it was made as a joke. And so I want to ask you a question from the chat, Cayman.
Yeah.
Is this a self-aware game or not?
There's a moment, I don't know if you got to it. They leave in a blooper in the game.
I didn't get
so
that.
They're like reading off in a scene, and the main guy, John the plumber, he's like hitting on Jane, the busty blonde, and he's like, blah, 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 man, I just really messed up my lines, didn't I? Like, you hear the director off camera be like, oh, you definitely did. We should leave this in there. This is funny. This happens in the game.
They
leave a full blooper. This game is written by someone whose first language isn't an actual language. It's just fart noises. And then they somehow took fart noises and were like, compile it into something to make a script. This is so okay. What you missed, Patrick, just so I can give an example, because I really feel like this is necessary. What you missed in the setup is that John wakes up. Dude's got a fucking six-pack. This dude is shredded as hell. Come to find out, John would later go and star in one other thing, and I think it's a gay porno. So, like, dude's absolutely ripped, okay? This dude is cut. And his mom calls me and is like, John, why aren't you hooking up with Sally? And it cuts to Sally, and it's just like a dude with a mustache.
Wow.
He's like, wow, okay.
I missed all that.
So, like, he's like, I gotta go to work, Mom. And so he gets on his motorcycle, because he's a motorcycle plumber, okay?
Yeah.
And then it cuts to Jane, who is like, Dad, I'm going to my new job, my first day on the job. And so he's like, I'm going to go do this. And the dad is like, he's got Drano on his table, Patrick. He's got cocktails all over the place and a bottle of Drano in the middle of it. And he's like, your mom is a dumbass and I hate her. You need to give me babies. Why aren't you giving me babies, Jane? As he's like sloshing around like a cigar and like a cocktail with Drano on the table, guys. Drano.
I was trying to find a good shot of the motorcycle because on the back of it, it just says like Plumber John or something.
So he's like, you need to go and have babies. You got to go find someone to have babies with. That is the startup. And then the two of them meet and fall in love in the parking lot. The thing is, one of the end game sequences is that John falls in love with the boss that sexually harasses Jane, and they like hold hands while walking off in the sunset. That is an ending. That's how you can end the game at one point. Okay.
Well, when you get like, so the first thing I do is I have them not hit on each other, and it goes through, like I said, like 7 minutes, and then this narrator in a purple suit comes out.
Was he wearing the chicken head?
He didn't. He wasn't wearing the chicken head at first, and he's like, "Well, that didn't work. Do you want to try again?" And it's like, "Do you want to try again, or do you want the game to be over?" And I was like,
"What?"
I sat there for about 30 seconds. Over. It's like, I think I maybe want the game to be over. I did go back and try a couple other things, but what's up, Maury?
I have to ask. Okay, Cayman, 3 questions. Number 1 is,
hit me.
How much does this piece of shit cost? Number
$2.
2, holy shit. Number 2, is there a platinum?
Yes, got it.
Well, okay, because I was going to ask, is it easy to get?
Yeah, it took like an hour and a half.
Easy. I'll be downloading it tonight.
Maury will have the platinum by midnight.
Here's the thing I'll tell you, and this is why, like, I'm like, look, we've talked about this game is like, and I have to say, it's like trigger warning, and it does talk about it. Even Jared Petty, who used to be one of the hosts on Kind of Funny, he is on there as part of like there's a documentary attached to the game, and I definitely recommend if you play the game, watch the documentary afterwards. And if you really want to, watch the commentary with Jane. Jane does an entire commentary where she talks about like the weird experience. She was like, we had a blast making this. Like the director was so sweet and all of these things. And like, it was just such a wonderful experience to do this. But the game has a lot of stuff that doesn't age well. And we talk a lot about it for those of you that listen to Save Trash Cinema, we talk about this a lot. That's like, look, the truth is, there's things that happened in the past we can't wash over anymore. Like we kind of have to accept this is what things were. And that's one of these situations here where it definitely is. And I think the thing is, if you can recontextualize the issues that show up, the things that maybe aren't as PC as what we would want to see out of our media today, and kind of be like, look, this is a time capsule to what media was like. Like you would have seen this on like ABC or some shit at the same time this came out, So like it does give you like a glimpse in the past. And if you can kind of accept it like that, it is hysterically funny in all of the wrong ways. And that's why this game sings. but the documentary attached to it is fascinating. It goes to like a deep dive on the CDO or the 3DO. It talks about how the angry video game nerd made this game popular by like showcasing it on his channel when YouTube was young, and like how it's become like a cult classic. Then you get like a whole commentary with Jane, and she gets to talk about like how like much fun the shit, like shooting all these scenes were and all this crazy stuff. And just one thing I want to point out though, that I did find out, because I did all this research on the back end doing my dumpster dive review, is that this she did bondage porn for like 10 years after this. It was a pro wrestler, and I'm just like, this lady's fucking cool, you know? Like, and you get to hear like talk about all this stuff. Like, I'm like, this lady fucks.
So two of the stars went on to be porn stars.
Right, yeah. So we got wow. If you're trash cinema, if you don't have at least one porn star in a trash cinema film, is it really trash cinema, Patrick?
That's a really good point. It was so I was about 10 minutes into this game, and I was like, I had this like itch metaphorically, and I'm like, oh, this is what it felt like when I would watch a trash cinema movie for Save Trash Cinema. I was like, this, I'm in that like seat again of like this uncomfortable like, what the fuck is this thing?
It feels great to come back to it.
It is crazy. Like it really, I see Bennett in the chat. If you ever listened to Save Trash Cinema, this is truly Save Trash Cinema, the game. It's wild. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
So that's what we've been playing. A dumpster dive for the ages, might I say.
I'm so happy you played it, Patrick.
Yeah. I this morning when you texted me and you were like, oh my God, Jared Petty popped up. I was like, I can't address that because I know he did, because I already saw it. But I didn't want you to know that I saw it.
You're a bastard.
I'm a bastard. What can I say? All right, let's jump into some news. We have a couple big stories today. First, we're going to start with some PlayStation news. So PlayStation is rumored to be having a state of play most likely next week. This is from Andy Robinson at VGC. Andy writes, the next Sony live stream could take place this month. PlayStation is reportedly prepping a February state of play for Valentine's week. He's saying the same thing over again. According to a user, PlayStation's next live stream is arriving in February. Asked by an ex-user for more exact timing info on the state of play, the insider dropped a strong hint that it would take place on the week commencing February 10. This article is being very cagey about it. To my understanding, it's the same guy that was spot on about the most recent direct, or the most recent Switch 2 announcement.
Yes.
So it seems like this guy has a very good track record. I can't remember his name, and it's not mentioned in the article. But what we do know is that Sony regularly puts out a state of play in January or February to reveal some of the titles it's planning to release during the first half of the calendar year. So we have a couple other examples of this. So essentially what I want to do today is ask you guys, one, do we think this is real? And two, what do we think might we see, and what do we hope to see at this state of play?
Yeah, sure. I'll jump in. Number one, the leaker's name is Nate the Hate.
Thank you.
Yep, of course. We talked a little bit before we hopped on, and now we're going to share with you a little bit of what we talked about. We went and we looked at past state of plays and how they performed previously at the beginning of the year. For starters, I do think a state of play is coming. They consistently have one in the first quarter of every year, usually February. So I totally think this is real. How they have performed has kind of been give and take. You've had some that were like huge bangers and some that were really disappointing, like the one that announced Suicide Squad in 2023. I think we see Ghost of Yote. I think we probably see like Marathon. Like it has to be time. If not, is it ever coming? And I have no idea what the fuck else. I'm praying Resident Evil 9 so that Cayman doesn't screw me this year in Fantasy Critic, but I really don't know. I'm so worried about PlayStation right now. And that's something that we've talked about pretty consistently here at Spotlight, is what the hell are they going to put out? So many games that they were working on have been canceled. What do they have? Oh, you're muted.
Thank you. Looking at the past, so this time last year, we got a deep dive on Stellar Blade, Rise of the Ronin, and Death Stranding 2 and Silent Hill. The year prior, we got Resident Evil 4, Street Fighter 6, Suicide Squad, Killed the Justice League is kind of the main one. So it seems to be outside of Death Stranding, all of those are third-party games. So I think it is fair to assume if we get a first-party something, it's probably just one. And I think it would make sense for it to be Ghost of Yotei, especially with the rumors that it's coming this year. But then I'm wondering, like, is it too early for that? Would they have a Ghost of Yotei only direct in, say, July as like a here's 19 minutes of Ghost of Yotei's gameplay, talking to Eric Ishii, who's voicing the new protagonist, talking to the people at Sucker Punch, all that kind of stuff. I wonder if they go that route with Ghost of Yotei. Cayman, where's your head at on this? What are you thinking we might get?
I mean, if we're sticking in the realm of Ghost of Yotei, I think if we do get it, it might be a secondary teaser trailer that might be maybe a little bit longer than the first one we saw, or something different that says tune in on, tune in March of 2025 for a deeper dive at Ghost of Yotei. That might be, and then we would get a reveal of like it's coming October 2025 at that event, something to hype up. I could see that happening. But I'm going to throw out a really hot take, something that is dangerous.
Oh,
wow.
I think we're going to see Xbox at the State of Play.
Whoa, okay.
I think the moves that they're making, I think it makes logical sense that Xbox would team up with PlayStation to some degree. I might not go as far to say that we get like a full announcement of the Master Chief collection for Halo or the Gears of War collection. I don't know if we'll go that far as getting something like that, but I definitely think there's always a chance that we might get a release date for Indiana Jones might pop up, something that we know is already coming, but just kind of establishes like this year's going to be different.
You know what I could see if that happens is the Indiana Jones DLC, which we've not actually seen.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah. So I think it's very logical that happens. I think that the bigger question is it going to happen at all? And historically, yes, it should happen, and it should happen within the next week or two for this to fall within the realm of like Sony's normal shtick. I think there's always a chance that we might get a not first party, but maybe a third party exclusive game that hasn't been announced yet. Something smaller, like a Rise of the Ronin, something like that is behind like the developer is a larger or more prestigious developer, but not someone, that's like so high up. It's not going to be like a Bethesda or id or something like that. It's going to be a smaller one, but I definitely think we will. We might also get some information about like a potential DLC for Stellar Blade. It's been a year out since, that's like, there's always a chance that they might kind of revitalize some interest. It's still like one of the big featured rewards you can get on Sony's point system is Stellar Blade. So like there's still hooks there. But I don't think we're going to get a lot of, hey, this is the game that's going to come out in October from us. I don't think we get that in this next State of Play.
And this is where I'm concerned, is that then the question becomes, so Sony has gotten really quiet over the years, and they stopped announcing things even 9 months before they come out and like talking about them. So like the question is, what does Sony have slated? Because I'm assuming Ghost of Yotei is second half of 2025. Like I think that's a given.
If it was first half, we'd know by now.
Right. So the question then becomes like, what is coming in the first half? Gentlemen, I present to you a question. Do you remember the game Ballad of Antara?
I'm sorry, but I don't know this man.
That's okay. That's okay. Guess what? I'm going to tell you about this man. This man is it's a PlayStation exclusive, but it's also going to be on PC. I don't understand how that works because that kind of defies everything. But it's a dark fantasy ARPG from Infold. They showed it off at another State of Play a while back. It's like, I guess it's the equivalent of like a Rise of the Ronin or something.
So I guess I've seen this game because I watch all of them, but I certainly don't remember this.
Yeah, dude. Like, wow, I don't know, but like, and then Marathon. It was supposed to come out last year. Like, is it gonna come out in summer this year? And are they gonna show it off now? They have to have something. And if not, are they not squirming? Are they not completely worried?
We're not seeing Marathon. Maybe
ever. Wow.
I really feel like PlayStation is completely moving away from their live service efforts.
Yeah.
Wow. I feel like this is what I'll say, because Marathon's the Bungie one, right?
Yeah, yeah.
If we get one from them, it is Marathon. I think the other one is dead.
Fair Games.
Fair Games is dead. But it's just, I don't know. I feel like they've already, we talked about a few weeks ago, they already canceled 2 of them that were unannounced. And then obviously we all know what happened with Concord. It's like, I don't know. I just feel and the guy that was the beginning of all this is gone from the company, Jim Ryan. Right. So I just feel like there is a wind that is changing with the live service side of Sony. And I just have a feeling, I don't know. I could be wrong.
The wind's not changing for Sony. The wind is changing in the industry. I think that there's a very big to do about live service that happened, and everyone got on board, and then the video games industry crashed. I mean, maybe not crashes. I mean, this is not the 80s crash, but it's not. You can't have a stable industry when you're laying off. How many people got laid off this past year? 100,000 people in the industry?
Yeah, more.
Yeah.
That's in this industry. And you got to remember too, this is not like the banking industry where each Wells Fargo location, there's 5,000 of them and there's 15 employees at each one. This is you have small devs and teams, but for the most part, I mean, some of the largest studios have 200 people. That's it.
I mean, we're about to talk about BioWare's at less than 100 now. That's
right.
Our next story.
So I think the thing is there was so much emphasis being put there because they were like, well, if you can keep a game and keep making it successful, then people will keep spending money. But the truth is the market's saturated and people dug in like people do with what they really liked. And it is really hard to get a new player base to shift over from one product to the next. Also, the economy right now was doing really well and is about to do really poorly. And when that happens, we're going to be in an even worse position and less people will be able to afford to pay for something like a video game, which they might go ahead and just bump up the price just to offset all the bullshit happening right now with all the tariffs and all these things that we might still see an increase before GTA 6 launches.
Sure.
They might not be the catalyst, right? We might see before. So I think live services, we can't dedicate that much resource to maintaining a game that might not be able to keep people. Then they came to a point of we can't dedicate resources to this at all anymore. We need to focus on smaller budget games that we can pump out. And that is where we need to go. We need to go back to the heyday of AA games. That's how this industry survives.
I agree. And I want to actually grab something Jerica said in the chat. For those of you that don't know, Jerica, part of Drop In, Drop Out. That's the homie. That's my resident Kojima stan, my Death Stranding twin. Jerica writes, if any were going to survive, it might be Marathon, though. And I'm going to jump in on that real quick. Again, what the hell does Sony have for 2025? Because Death Stranding 2 is not coming. I've been saying that. I've been yelling it at the top of my lungs. Patrick, fuck you for picking it.
You had 3 chances before me.
Yeah, I did. But I really do think that if Marathon doesn't come out this year, it doesn't come out. And I just want to say one more time, Sony spent a huge chunk of change to acquire Bungie. They need something. They need a return on that investment, and Marathon has to be done or close to done. And at this point, it's you have to put it out. I feel like you have to put it out, right? This is the company, the developer that everything else went through. Every other closure that you've seen, every other game that got canceled, it got canceled because Bungie said it couldn't survive. That assumes that their expertise, and I'm not saying that they're great, right? They have a lot of problems, but their expertise is enough to at least get their game released under Sony. At least.
You know what Sony can't do, though? Is release another shit live service game.
I know, but what do? You spend all that money.
I know, but at some point you cut your cost and you realize that you fucked up. And obviously, at least 2 of the 3. I don't really know what came and thought about Concord. It wasn't a shit game, but in terms of business, it was a shit fucking game.
Yes, of course.
And so it's they can't do that again.
Okay,
and I know. I feel like the only way that they release Marathon is if it's going to get 9s.
Yeah. But
what if, hear me out. It came down to it. They knew that they could not keep up 2 live service games, that there was not a space for them. And so instead, they cut their loss with Concord and just shut it down immediately instead of making it free to play and keeping it up. Because we all thought, hey, you could at least make some money by doing that. But you got to pay for servers, you got to pay for staff to keep doing whatever they're doing. So you just cancel it all because they are putting all of the bets on Marathon being the live service game that keeps like Sony's name in that conversation still.
Sure. That's a good point.
I look at Xbox and I'm like, okay, what is Xbox's live service game? And I'm like, technically Forza's kind of a live service game to a degree.
Yeah.
And then I was like, State of Decay is technically a live service game, but that is such a niche market for both of those, where I think something like Destiny is a more nebulous thing of just like, we're an FPS.
Sure.
If you like sci-fi, you might like it a little more, but ultimately we're an FPS that plays really well. So like if Marathon's going to be something that might be why they were like, fuck it, no more here, move it over, bada bing, bada boom, we're putting all of the buggies are dragging this lifeless corpse through the street now.
Yeah.
That's called Jerica's dreams, baby.
Speaking of Jerica, there are a couple of things from the chat I want to bring in. One of them is from Jerica. She says, Pragmata, where did that game go? Wasn't that shown at a State of Play at one point? It's coming to Xbox too, but I feel like it was at a PS event. So this was, I'm looking it up because I don't remember Pragmata. I remember it by name, but I couldn't picture it. This was in a June showcase, apparently. But yeah, I don't remember this game, even looking at it now. It's very spacey. It's very sci-fi. Do y'all remember Pragmata?
I do. Surprisingly, but it's only because of how many times I heard someone remind me that it hadn't come out yet.
Sure.
So that's the only thing that kept me thinking.
So it's been almost 2 years since we've seen it, a year and a half.
No.
Could certainly be something that we see at a State of Play. Jonesing Simba also wonders if we're going to see a game that we've not seen that is third party. Let's see. I'm guessing at least one game we haven't heard about will be a timed exclusive from a third party. Jonesing Simba mentions. Megantron saying very busy PlayStation heavy studio this year is Sega. And then also brings in some data saying that Marathon is currently not close enough to being done to give a release date, and a lot of the team is being allocated elsewhere. Jesus. It's slated for mid-26 and opening for testing in late 25 if they can meet internal goals. Very interesting. Also, Jonesing Zimba keeping us honest. Sea of Thieves, an Xbox.
Got me. Absolutely. Which I would like to point out, you can't really do that to me because I have only a half working brain. So you can only half insult
That's true.
me. All right.
That's true.
It's only fair to half insult me. Okay.
And then a couple other things. Noah keeping us so brutally honest. It was about 10,000 jobs, not 100,000. We added a zero there.
Oh, well, once again, I'm allowed to make mistakes.
Hey, what I said was no, Cayman. It was more. So
okay, fair enough. So
I said yes.
Yeah. And then it was 14 to 15,000 last year. So 10,000 was 2 years ago. 14, 15 last year.
That's still fucking wild.
Still
man.
fucking
those numbers are no.
And then also. Jerkachu says it's Italian. Pragamata. Might be.
That was really great. That was beautiful. Somebody's got to hire you for some voice work, Patrick.
Buonasera.
I've been trying to do it for years to have him dub over pornos, but he keeps turning them down.
Yeah,
he keeps turning them down.
I send them to you. You must not be seeing them. I send them from a different number though.
Oh, you're that person.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I keep requesting feet pics, and you're not sending those. Okay, I just want to say, don't want those pics.
I thought by saying, hi, this is Porno Steve, that you would know it's me. But obviously,
Steve Porno Patrick.
Shit,
Steve Porno.
It's been a minute since I did it. So, no, you're right. Keep me honest. All right. So those are some rumors, some hopes, some dreams from us. I think, there's been a lot of people saying, if we didn't see a lot of people maybe in this room, perhaps, Maury, we didn't see Resident Evil 9 at the Capcom event, we're fucked. By we, I mean Maury, am fucked.
Yes.
I could see us getting Resident Evil 9 at a State of Play.
I could too. Again, we got RE4 at a State of Play.
Don't believe it.
For sure.
Don't believe it. Well, my problem is you had the Capcom Spotlight. You're not going to get a Capcom Spotlight week later, get the biggest game Capcom could announce.
I disagree.
I think you can, because State of Plays average like 2 to 3 million views, whereas this one for Capcom today has 40,000.
I can promise you that if Capcom said, if they dropped a pic
they would have said
if they dropped a pic on Twitter that was just like CV.
Sure.
Absolutely, you'd get 2 million views on that. Everyone sitting there waiting with bated breath. for Code Veronica.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe. But at the same time,
I could also see Sony paying them. Say,
yes,
hey, here's
yes,
50K.
that would be the only way.
Yes.
That'd be the only
Here's
way.
50K. I don't know what that number makes sense.
And if I may, real quick, we just went through a long, lengthy discussion about how it seems that Sony has nothing important to announce at the State of Play. Sure. I guarantee you money that they would pay to get an RE9 announcement at what would otherwise be an abysmal State of Play. Guys, I'm making money this year off this Fantasy Critic. Whoa. I'm putting it. No, we're seeing Resident Evil 9 at this State of Play.
So, wait, so does this mean that if, just hear me out, Resident Evil 9 does not show up at the State of Play?
Okay.
We get a stream from you dressed as Claire Redfield.
Oh.
You got the hair? Put it up in a ponytail, baby.
Deal.
Let's
go.
I'll do it. I'll do it right now.
Let's go.
Fuck it.
I can't fucking wait. Okay. Next story. We got a little bit of a downer. Is BioWare in trouble? Again, pulling from VGC. Again, Andy Robinson. Andy, thank you for giving us so much to discuss on the podcast tonight. The Mass Effect developer is reportedly down to less than 100 employees from 200 in 2023. Mass Effect and Dragon Age developer BioWare has reportedly halved in size compared to 2 years ago, partly caused by owner Electronic Arts' decision to make cuts and move employees to different teams within the company. Bloomberg reports that following the announcement of a studio reorganization this week, EA informed team members who believed that they had been temporarily loaned to other EA studios following the completion of Dragon Age: The Veilguard that these moves are now, in fact, permanent. BioWare confirmed this week that some employees had been moved to help on other EA projects, said to include Skate and Iron Man, since the next Mass Effect game was only in pre-production and did not need the entire studio. According to Bloomberg, the transferred staff had believed that their move to other projects was temporary and that they were told this week that their loan moves had morphed into permanent relocations, that they are no longer BioWare employees, and that if they wanted to work at BioWare again, they have to look for job openings. Fucking brutal.
Wow.
They're down now to less than 100, according to Bloomberg team sources. A small team led by veteran employees currently working on Mass Effect 5 and will likely expand as production ramps up. So this also comes on the heels of just a little bit more story before the discussion, a blog post from Gary McKay, the general manager of BioWare, saying that with the restructuring, also announcing that they didn't hit their goal of 3 million sales with the Veilguard. They only got to 1.5 million, which at first, Dumpster Boy dropped this in the Spotlight chat. And at first I was like, fuck them, that shit. But then like I'm thinking about it more. I'm like, 3 million is a lot of sales. Don't get me wrong. But 3 million for a beloved, massively celebrated franchise from BioWare that was getting good reviews, only selling half of its goal of 3 million, which I feel like is pretty attainable on paper, is like, I don't know. We talked so much about the Veilguard on the show. It was our number 2 game of the year on Spotlight last year. I'm worried about BioWare right now. Where are you guys at?
Okay, so I'm being a bit optimistic, and optimistic might be a stretch to be completely fair here. What's happening reminds me of a tech startup, and I've been part of tech startups before, and I've seen this happen a lot. And I don't think that this is a good thing. I think this is a bad thing that companies do, but they do it, and this could very well be an instance of it. And that is, when a company winds down after a large project, they will essentially sheath off employees. So external contractors or people who are in more floaty roles that are working as auxiliary or things that those positions aren't necessary at this point at time, they will let those people go. Then they will start reopening positions as they start ramping back up. And typically what will happen is these companies will reach back out to the same people and be like, we had a great time last time. Will you trust us one more time? Yeah. And we all do, because we are all broke and we need money. So we do. And I could see this really being a thing where it's like, Dragon Age is hit. We're not doing DLC. We are going to cost cut and we're going to reduce staff down to a number of like, this is core so that we can work on building Mass Effect. And then when we're ready to launch into full production, then we will do a mass rehire. And then we'll have a news article in a year that says, BioWare is opening up someone who's got experience in quadruple A gaming, some bullshit like that. And then we'll have the same conversation again. Or this is the death blow and BioWare is no more in 6 months. It's one or the other.
Man, I really hope it's not that, because obviously, I mean, we all love Mass Effect here. Actually, Mori, have you played Mass Effect? Is that the one that you've said you haven't gotten to before? We got to check that. Drop and Drop Out series. You're playing that on Drop and Drop Out for sure.
Deal. As Claire Redfield.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. 1. Because so Noah in the chat, I want to bring in, says 3 million was even a relatively conservative estimate. I didn't realize this. As I was saying this, like, I wish I'd looked this up. Inquisition hit 12 million.
Dude, I have it pulled up because I was literally going to bring this up. Like, this is abysmal. No one knows how bad this shit is.
Yeah.
Like this is terrible. Like
1.5.
1.5. It's a tenth. It's a tenth of what they made on the last one. I mean, Cayman. I love where Cayman's head's at, because I hear about that happening all the time. They always cut people off. Game developers do it all the time when they release. They cut tons of people. I don't think that's what's happening. I think BioWare is in a bad spot. I mean, you sold 1/10 of what the last entry in the franchise made.
I think it's marketing though. Like, they did not do a good job selling this game.
You're right. No, you're right. You're right.
But it is clear that they put real money into this.
Yeah.
Because that game is astoundingly beautiful.
Yeah. And it has almost no bugs at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It ran like a fucking dream. It is, I think I said it on our, Drop and Drop Out episode 0, our Spotlight Game of the Year episode. I think it is one of the most underrated games of the last decade. And a lot of it is because of the shit that it got unfairly. Not that the game doesn't, shouldn't deserve any criticism, but I don't know, man. I especially finding out that Mass Effect isn't even in full production, even though they've been teasing that, and it was fully announced several years ago at this point. It's like, I don't know, man. I'm concerned.
And let me jump in right here, because we have an interesting case study in the fact that, like, I haven't played Mass Effect, because it's going to give a lot of context to, I think, what's going on. The last time BioWare had a great game was 11 years ago in 2014 when Inquisition released.
Yeah.
What that means is that my generation doesn't associate BioWare with the way you do. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
So as people in your generation, like I say, age out of playing games, because really they're just out of times, they have kids or they're working really, or whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? As they age out, right? The next generation that would have became BioWare fans never did, because for a decade they released nothing good. Like you said, Dragon Age is a beloved franchise, but I'd never played one till Veilguard.
Yeah.
Like, that's the context here. When you go 10 years without a banger, this is where you're going to find yourself. You got 12 million copies sold on Inquisition. That's fucking awesome. But for 10 years, people my age didn't know you were good. We didn't know what you made. Like, that's bad. And so I think that's why BioWare finds themselves where they're at now. It's not that Dragon Age Inquisition isn't a great game. And I do think that marketing played a part, but I don't even think that's the biggest thing that's dunking on BioWare right now. I think it's that you went 10 years without anything substantially great to show an audience.
That's a really good point, Maury. And I think to add to that, I think also so much, I don't know the ins and outs of BioWare. I don't know the ins and outs of any game studio, but I listen to podcasts. I read the news in the games industry. There's just these kinds of studios have so much turnover.
Yeah.
Right. Creative directors leaving, game directors leaving. BioWare is a shell of what it used to be.
Yes.
And that comes with a lot of implication. And I don't even mean it negatively. I just mean that 10 years ago it was a completely different company, different people, all of that. And so we attribute this success and this value to BioWare. That BioWare just doesn't even exist anymore. BioWare that made the Veilguard's a different BioWare.
Right. It's the axe paradox. You are chopping wood, and as you're chopping wood, your blade chips. So you go out, you buy a new axe head, you put it on the handle. Next chop, the axe handle snaps in half. You go back to the hardware store, you replace the handle. Is it the same axe as it was before?
Sure.
So, I think it's a beautiful point. It is. And I think associating, I was sitting here like trying to drum up in my head, like what studio has had this level of fall from like grace and hasn't been closed?
Wow.
I legitimately cannot think of a studio that was that. Because remember when Mass Effect 2, 3 came out, that was like when Naughty Dog was starting to get big. You know? And so, you know, I'm legitimately sitting here thinking like the only studio I think that could have potentially had that level of fall would have been Arcane Austin. Was it Arcane Austin or was it the other Arcane?
It was Arcane Austin.
It was Austin, yeah.
Okay. That one, but even then, I wouldn't put them up there with the same level of what we consider BioWare to be.
And because that was also only one game. With BioWare, there's been a couple.
Like, and look, here's the thing. I'm an Andromeda apologist. I don't think that game launched in a great state. I think it soured people on it because it was so bad when it launched. I played it after, and the game I got was very enjoyable, and I enjoyed my time. Was it the best Mass Effect game? No. Sure. Was it still fun? Yes, it was entertaining. But then Anthem was an absolute shit show. Yeah. And then they go dark for years and then pop back up and then can't figure out how to sell Dragon Age. And I think the issue, and I might get some heat for this, but here's the thing. They didn't do themselves any good by not reading the room. When they come out and they're like, hey, and I agree with them. Like, I am pro LGBTQ. I am pro Black Lives Matter. I'm pro all of these things. I am just as liberal as you guys. Well, also, if you want to sell a game, the unfortunate reality is maybe you don't just attack the audience when they say, you know, we don't like this. You know, I'm not like, sure, if you want to attack them, but you're also going to lose a huge chunk of your fan base that like was going to wait on it. And I don't know. I have like a crisis of conscience where I'm like, I'm with you, but I think a smaller studio could have gotten away with it. And I think BioWare is so big.
Sure.
And because
they're EA.
And they're like, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, I love it. I think that you could take a stand, but no one else is. And I'm glad that you stood up and I'm glad that you did that. But at the same time, I still want you guys to exist. Sure. And sometimes there's a moment in time where you have to take a break, you have to take a breath, and you have to say, am I doing good by taking a stand here? Or is it better to fight this battle a little bit later down the road?
Sure.
I don't
think they approached that. Yeah.
Sure. And I understand what Cam is saying. And I think I understand. I think I agree, right? Like, look at a prime example being Supergiant, right? Indie studio, very different story, right? But the reason why they can say anything they want to do and they can do whatever they want to do with their characters and their games and the statements they make is because they make great shit all the fucking time. You don't get to argue that shit, right?
Right.
The reason why, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no gap in their resume of excellent games. So it's something that I saw online that I talk about somewhat frequently, right? Because you have this group now in gaming that has been mobilized by the alt-right, you know, woke this, woke that, right? It's a garbage group of human beings, right?
Yes,
correct. But that's the thing, right? They can't mobilize at fucking Overwatch when it came out. Overwatch is extremely diverse in every single way, but like, you can't say dog shit game to Overwatch when it wins Game of the Year in 2016. You can't. Yeah. When your reputation as BioWare is so tattered, right, and you have all those people going at you because you did choose to make a stand, one that I agree with 110%. It's like, I don't think that helps you any. I don't. I really do think, though, I think the biggest thing crippling BioWare right now is that people in my generation had a 10-year gap where we never heard about BioWare.
And we have no idea what they did. Yeah. Then they come out and they're like, we're one of the greatest game developers of all time. Why don't you love us anymore?
Sure.
Yeah. And people in my generation like,
that case.
Yeah, right. We don't know. Like, we didn't see it for 10 years. What are you talking about?
That's a good point, man. I can't wait for you to play Mass Effect. I'm so interested to see if it clicks for you because I've played those games. I mean, it's one of my favorite franchises. I have the platinum for 1 and 2. I'm almost at the platinum for 3. Like, I love Mass Effect, but does it hit as a new property?
Ooh. Well, let me tell you, I tried 1. Didn't have the best time with it, but
one is the most rough of the 2. Oh. I started at 2, went to 1 later, and was like, okay, I can appreciate what 1 is. 2 is exceptional, and honestly, you can probably start at 2 and be just fine.
See, and this is the thing. We have Kayla in chat. All right. For those of you that don't know, Kayla also a part of Drop In, Drop Out. My God, we got the home team representing tonight and also co-host of the JK Games podcast. Kayla says, me and Mori can play it together. She says that she's actually never played it before. I haven't either, which is a sin because of Jericho's love for it. So, I advocate that me and Kayla hop on stream, do a little controller passing of some Mass Effect, and see what we think. Maybe start at 2 because 1 sounds a little rough.
Sure, and 2 has the good, and you've been on the show before, and I pitched you to start with 2 on this very show. And do the comic book that gets you set up. Here's the thing. We're talking, backdoor business here, but we could do it like share some logins, share some cloud saves, and like Mori plays a session, Kayla plays the next one.
That's tough. That's tough. That's tough. Let's do it.
What I'm hearing is we need to hit up Phil Spencer.
Yeah.
And we need to say, hey, Phil Xbox. Okay.
Yep.
Good old Phil Mr. Xbox. Can you set us up a private cloud-based service? So just for drop in, drop out, where we can pass the control. I 100% would be on board.
I mean, he's one of our biggest supporters.
He's my biggest fan.
Yeah.
He's listened to the things I've said on the show and is like, I like this guy. I like him.
Could be. All right, let's wrap up with some better news. We got a bit of a little spotlight here, a little news spotlight to end today's show with. A new Monster Hunter Wilds beta starts in just a couple days. The 6th through the 9th is going to be an open beta, and then also the 13th through the 16th as well. Summer Game Fest has been announced to start June 6th. And Jeff is already teasing a big show with, quote, spectacular video game announcements, surprises, and reveals. So my question is this marketing? Is he just being a good marketer, or is there legit business here? Who knows? We'll find out. Sims 1 and 2 have been re-released on PC with all their DLC in case you missed it. But heads up, it apparently for a lot of people is broken as fuck. So EA knows, they've said we're working on it, but I hope that it is fixed by the time we stream it, because Rose and I are definitely going to be streaming some fucking Sims 2. Also, speaking of EA, apparently Need for Speed is being put on hold for quite some time with Criterion Games, because that studio has essentially just been put on Battlefield. We've seen it before with Call of Duty Studios, but it seems like their future is the new Battlefield game. Also, another Xbox event coming this month. After their very successful, in my opinion, developer _direct, another ID at Xbox showcase is coming February 24th. If you're not familiar with ID at Xbox, it's an indie showcase that Xbox puts on, and they're usually pretty good. Could be a place we see Silksong, Cayman, maybe. Could be.
I'm just saying there's always a chance that Silksong it has to release this year. No fucking way it doesn't release this year.
Yeah, it has to. Yeah. Super Mario Party Jamboree. Jake Twitching in the chat. Marks a series best launch with 6 million shipped already.
Wow.
Very good.
Wow.
And then this one is mostly just for me and Kayla. Not to say that you guys won't like it, but we got some Last of Us news. Neil Druckmann has commented on the criticism that Caitlin Deaver doesn't have Abby's muscles, saying, quote, "We value performance over anything else," end quote, which, if I can interject for a second, I have been one of the people saying, where's her arms? So I respect it that Neil's come out.
Yeah, you're asking for the muscle cut.
Exactly. But I respect the choice of being like, let's get an actor first, arms second. And then he went on to say, quote, "Abby was meant to play more like Joel in that she's almost like a brute in the way she can physically manhandle certain things. That doesn't play as big of a role in this version of the story because there's not as much violent action moment to moment. It's more about the drama. I'm not saying there's no action. It's just, again, different priorities on how you approach it." Fair play from Neil. And then for all the nerds out there, you fucking nerds that like RTS games, Xbox bringing a couple PS5 or a couple of their games to PS5 with Age of Mythology Retold and Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition. And then let's end on some good news. Nintendo saying it is making preparations to combat Switch 2 scalpers.
Let's fucking go.
We'll see if it works. They've said that they're trying it in the past and it didn't seem to do much then, but I am choosing to end on hope, boys. Are you going to end on hope with me?
Patrick, Did we talk about Monster Hunter's beta at all?
We did. We mentioned it at the top of the spotlight, but would you like to add to it at all?
I would like to throw this out to the audience. Audience, I know you're listening intently to the Dumpster Boy. You're trash god. And I have a request. I played Monster Hunter World back on release, put about 40 hours into it. But what I found out in those 40 hours is that I am not a very good gamer. I'm a lowercase g gamer, and I suck. If there is a group out there that doesn't mind letting me backpack my ass through until at least I either learn how to be good or get my money's worth of the game, let me know. Because I'm not going to do this shit if I have to play it solo like Patrick always said. Patrick's always like, Cayman, we're going to play together. We never do. We never do.
We never do. Seldom do. Let's say we seldom do.
Okay. We don't do it enough for me to justify some of the purchases that I've made in the past. That's true. I'm going to circumvent that by going around him, seeing if there's someone out there that can drag my lifeless corpse all through town while we beat up on those what someone's got a name of something out there, Raptororn
for sure.
Yeah, that's what they're called.
High Score Weekly says I played the new one first test alpha. It's pretty similar to the first, so if you didn't like that, you might not like this one. Just a heads up. But look, I said it at the top of the show. I'm willing to give the beta a shot. Okay. I know Maury's going to do it. I know Pinksy Gaming, who's not in the chat anymore, is going to do it. We got the four of us together. That's a fucking squad. You understand?
That's a great
fucking squad. You understand?
Are you trying to pander to our New Jersey fans, Patrick?
Maybe.
That was pretty good pandering. Just being honest. That was pretty accurate.
Yeah, what can I say? Pander Express, you know what I'm saying?
Pander Express, baby.
All right. What a show. Right here, twitch.tv/SpotlightGamesPod. Also co-streaming on twitch.tv/DropInDropOutPod. For those of you that were in either chat, we thank you so very much. But before we go, Dumpster Boy, let them know where they can find you.
Yes. You can find me at the Dumpster Boy everywhere. I'm actually trying to move all of my socials underneath the Dumpster Boy moniker. Soon, eventually, at a certain point, Dumpster Dives will make it to short form video content. When that happens, I'll have more information to share. Until then, you can catch my written reviews of Dumpster Dives, just like my longest review ever written for a Dumpster Dive for, shockingly, plumbers don't wear ties. But guess what? There's also another review out for a game I didn't cover, a little game called Virginia, that some of you might have remembered that released almost 10 years ago. So if you wanted to learn a little bit about that, the review's up in Discord as well. And I think just ultimately go follow everything that we do at Drop In, Drop Out and Spotlight Games, because there's a lot of crazy shit that's on the horizon that's going to happen. And you guys don't want to miss out. It's going to be a wild ride.
That's true. Noah got me dead to rights here. He says, when the guy who spent 20 minutes talking about plumbers don't wear ties says Patrick has made him regret some purchases.
Damn.
That hurts. That hurts. That hurts. My gamble worth taking, GWTMori, where can the folks find you?
Folks, you can find me everywhere at GWTMori. That is unfortunately X, Twitch, Instagram, everything. Just type in GWTMori and you'll find me.
Hell yeah. Also came in, we might have another gamer in the chat willing to play some Monster Hunter. Jonesing Simba says looking for some Monster Hunters to play with. So
fuck yeah.
He's in our Discord. I've seen him in the Discord.
I'm just saying,
I think something can happen. You can follow me at PShwussy, but more importantly, you can follow the pod at Spotlight Games Pod everywhere. But you know what's even easier than that? Go to dropindropoutpod.com. You can find me. You can find the Dumpster Boy. You can find the Gamble We're Taking More. You can find Spotlight Games. You can find JK Games. You can find the homie Jake Twitch, and you can find Cognitive Clips and all of his video essays. You can find all of the things we do for you from us. Go there. Follow us if you want. Follow us everywhere you can. Until next week. Actually, until Thursday on Drop In Drop Out Pod's Twitch for an episode of that, and Friday with Doki Doki with Rose, who has recently gotten home. Thank you for being here. The Friendship Design saying great show, y'all. Thank you very much. I hope you have a great rest of your evening. Until next time, bye-bye.